In my opinion, generic diet advice should not be followed by neurodivergent people. Today we're going to be talking about why that is. I'm also going to tell you about a big mistake that I made recently and what I'm doing to put that right. And we're going to be talking about the impact of following generic diet advice and what it does to those of us who are neurodivergent and how it impacts our lives. First up, a little warning to those of you who, if you've struggled with eating disorders, we are going to be talking about food and about disordered eating. So if that's going to be uncomfortable for you, maybe stop watching. First, I just want to talk about my own background with food, with eating, with exercise and things like that. So I grew up with body dysmorphia, like probably a lot of you watching. I was bullied as a child in school and outside of school, and because of that bullying and because of my own childhood at home, the trauma I experienced at home and kind of lack of, there wasn't much encouragement at home. I was always like too sensitive to this. There was not much positive encouragement or anything. So for me, that bullying far outweighed anything positive. So I had a very negative self-image. As I said, I grew up with body dysmorphia. I felt very uncomfortable in my body. As I grew up, I hated myself and I always wanted to change myself. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And I thought, if I look a certain way, I will be accepted more. I obviously didn't know I was neurodivergent. I went undiagnosed for most of my life. So there was that, there was the body dysmorphia, there was bullying. I'm a very sensitive person, as many of you are. And it all compounded into this self-hatred and very low self-esteem. So I always wanted to change myself. When I got to, I suppose, into my teenage years, I started experimenting with diets, and as I got older, I'd kind of go on these extreme diets, or I was very all or nothing. While I was never diagnosed with an eating disorder, looking back, my eating was very disordered. I would be on these all or nothing diets. If I thought I'd done one thing wrong, like eating one biscuit or eating one thing, I think, right, I've ruined it now, and I would binge. I would go and absolutely binge and think I'll start again on Monday. And this is what typical diet culture is like. It's very much like, oh, I'll start on Monday, I'll do this, I'll do that. I was like that. I binged a lot. I was either very strict and very restrictive or binging. So my eating was very disordered over the years. I had such a negative self-body image, and when I became old enough and I joined a gym as a young adult, I also had disordered exercising. I would go to the gym and I wouldn't allow myself to leave until I burnt a certain amount of calories, and usually that was a minimum of 800 calories. I would exercise until I was sick sometimes, and at the time, I didn't realise how unhealthy that was. I mean, in my head, I was thinking, well, I'm exercising, I'm doing good for my body, it's a good thing. But now when I look back, I think it's not healthy to exercise till you vomit. It's not healthy to force yourself to burn a certain amount of calories just so you can feel like you can eat certain foods that day. That is not healthy, that is very disordered. And I kind of continued with these patterns of disordered eating, disordered exercising for years, probably until I was about 30. Then after I was diagnosed with severe depression at the age of 30, that is when I started to change my life. That is when I looked at every area of my life and thought, I need to do this differently. And that included the way I ate and exercised. And I thought, I was so grateful to be alive. On that day I was diagnosed, I was in a very dark place, and after being diagnosed with severe depression at that time, I felt like I had a second chance at life, and I thought, I'm going to do everything differently. I wanted to eat out of love for myself. I wanted to eat because I was grateful to be here and I appreciated being here. So that's when I started to eat out of love for myself rather than hate. And yeah, it took time to build up that self-love, but that's where it started from. It started from a place of love. Again, same with the exercise. I thought, I'm not going to force my body to do things that are going to stress it out to the absolute maximum. I'm going to start back with gentle exercise and do what feels good and what feels right for me. I am not going to be doing anything that feels drastic, because I knew that hadn't been working for me. I needed to change things. I needed to do it differently. So these last 12 years have been a massive journey for me. I've gradually changed a lot of areas of my life. My diet, my relationship with food is the absolute best it's ever been. I'm the happiest I've been in my body. I am not the slimmest I've ever been. I used to judge myself on whether I was slim enough, or because I always felt ugly, and I always felt like, I just felt like I wasn't. But I am now the happiest I have ever felt in my body. I feel comfortable in my own skin, and I am so grateful for that. But I have had to work hard to get to this point. So going on to my mistake that I made recently, because I'm so comfortable with myself, and because I'm so comfortable with my relationship with food, which I just want to add, I eat really well. I eat good quality food. I try and eat whole food whenever possible. I do not eat fake food. I do not eat artificial sweeteners. I don't drink alcohol. I do read ingredients on things. I want to give my body nourishing food that is as natural as possible. But sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. So recently, I've been noticing that my clothes are feeling tight, and things that fit me last year don't fit me that well this year. And I thought, okay. And at first, my mind went to, oh, they must have shrunk in the wash. And then when more and more clothes were feeling a bit tighter, I thought, no, it's not that. I need to look at something in my diet. I knew straight away what it would be, because as I've mentioned in other videos, I have this protein shake every single morning. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. And I know that it's full of good food and it's full of healthy fats. And I thought maybe I've underestimated those healthy fats and just how maybe high in calories they are. I hate counting calories. It makes me angry, it makes me irritable, it makes me obsessive, and I hate it. But for the sake of my health and my well-being, I knew that I'm going to have to count the calories in this protein shake, because I knew that's what would be causing it. Also, just like to add, this is where the AuDHD comes in. My autism is the thing. I've had this protein shake pretty much every day for almost the last 3 years, and I love the taste of it, and I find it hard to not have that for my breakfast, because I feel like I'm a bit addicted to it. The ADHD comes in where I'm just quite willy-nilly with when I'm throwing the ingredients in. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just put a bit more of that in, it's healthy, it's good, and I'll just throw it in, and I'm quite impulsive like that. When I actually worked out the calories for it the other day, a few days ago, I was shocked. And if you can guess what the calories were, put it in the comments, or what you thought I was going to say. I'll just give you an idea of what's in it. Almond milk, cashew milk, banana, dates, pea protein powder, cacao powder, walnuts, almond butter, maple syrup, date syrup, sea salt. That's roughly what's in it. If you can guess what you thought the calories were that I'm about to say, and put it in the comments, because I was just so shocked. When I calculated it, it came to 1,400 calories, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that is what I'd been having for my breakfast pretty much every day for almost 3 years. Just need to add, it did keep me full for most of the day, which, as you can imagine, because of so many calories. But I was obviously still eating in the evening, and then occasionally in like the late afternoon, because I would start to get hungry probably about 3 in the afternoon. So that's when I might think I'm not hungry enough to eat properly, so I might just snack then, or I might have a small portion of something, but then I'd also have my tea later on and maybe have something after my tea. And like, yeah, when I was eating a lot of calories, and I've been doing that for 3 years. So I thought I'm gonna have to do something about it. And initially my brain went to, you're gonna have to calorie count. But the feeling of that, it gave me such a horrible feeling inside, because I don't know about you, but calorie counting for me, I get addictive, obsessive, irritable, and all I can think about is food. So it did kind of cross my mind thinking I'm going to have to do this. But then I thought, no, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to recreate the recipe. I want it to taste the same. I want it to have just as much protein, like a minimum of 30 grams of protein. I want it to be filling, but I want it to be less calories. So I managed to kind of tweak the recipe. I was putting all kinds of different nuts and seeds in, so I had to kind of take a few of those out. I actually measured the walnuts that I put in for the first time, and I was shocked about how many calories are in such a small amount of walnuts. I was putting in like 4 times the amount that when I weighed it, I was like, I can't believe how many calories I've actually been eating. So I thought, I'm gonna just recreate the recipe, write it down, and then I don't have to count the calories every day. I'll just make that same recipe every day. So I've managed to recreate my protein shake, cut out 500 calories from it, and get it to taste almost identical, still taste amazing, still just as filling, and still with a high amount of protein. I knew that is going to drastically, that's going to have a big impact over time on the amount of calories I'm consuming. And then for the rest of the day, I am not counting calories. I'm just going back to that mindset of making healthier choices whenever possible, even if that's like making sure at least half my plate has got vegetables on. Just being a little bit more conscious. Like, I'm still eating all the other stuff that I eat. I'm still eating like my proteins, like tofu and carbs and potatoes and rice, but I'm just like going a little bit easier on, say, maybe having one less potato and a bit more veg, or a little tiny bit less rice. I'm just doing it sensibly because I don't want to cut drastic amount of calories. I'm not in a big rush to like lose loads of weight. Yeah, for my health, I realise that I could do with maybe losing a couple of pounds, and that's fine, but I'm going to do it really slowly. I'm going to do it like carefully. I don't want to affect my quality of life any more than I need to, so I want to be able to enjoy food. I want to be able to not have to worry about it, so I'm just doing it mindfully. And now I know that I know how to make my protein shake. I am measuring my ingredients every day, and I know that's a certain amount of calories, and that's fine. I don't have to think about the calories now because I've reduced them in that protein shake, and that was the main kind of culprit. So this is just going back to my point of why diets aren't great for neurodivergent. Generic calorie counting, we all know it drives a lot of people mad. It really does. Like, people, and it's great if it works for you, that's great. For me personally, I do not like the way it makes me feel. It affects my mental health because all I can think about is food. It makes me so focused on food that I can't really think about anything else. Well, I can, because I always have loads of things going on, but it just adds to the burden of an already chaotic brain. It makes me feel so irritable because when you're depriving yourself and thinking, I can't eat that because I've only got a certain amount of calories left, it's going to make you feel irritable and angry, and overall it affects your quality of life. I think it's also, we have to be careful with ADHD and autism because we can get obsessed with things, we can become compulsive about things, and even if it seems like it's with a healthy habit, it can still be bad for us. It can still be bad for our mind, and eventually potentially bad for our body because it can lead to disordered eating. So I'd love to know in the comments, do you also struggle with this generic diet advice and calorie counting and things like that? Because it can't just be me that finds it so difficult, and it can't just be me whose mental health it affects as well. I'm approaching life with a gentle, like, I love myself now for the first time in a long time, and not in any kind of, not in an arrogant way, in a way that we should love ourselves in. I appreciate life, and I don't want to spend my already chaotic time and mind adding to that chaos by calorie counting and things like that. I just find that a softer, more gentle approach and being a bit more mindful about food works so much better for me, and being mindful about exercise as well. Like the exercise I do, I walk every day, I walk my dog every day. I've got a vibration plate which I'll go on and do like a little 10-minute routine every now and then if I feel like it. I do love swimming when I get the chance to go. I don't always go swimming, but I want to do what feels right for my body and what fits in with my life. What do you do to help you have a healthy relationship with food and exercise? I'd love to hear it if you want to put that in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this video, please like and subscribe. Bye.